Three, two, one, Larry.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Big Idea Podcast. We've got a special guest who's slightly MIA, but he'll be with us any second. David Rozak. He should be popping in any second. You know him. He was always helping somebody with something or fixing something or posting something for someone. But he's going to join us in just a second. In the meantime, Mr. Larkin, Mr. Silman, while we await his arrival, what have you gentlemen been up to?
Plenty. And one of the things before we go is next week should be great. Next Tuesday we were talking. We'll be together live. You said everyone's coming. Harry's coming with you. Nice. And how many episodes?
For anybody that's kind of not sure what we're talking about, every about 3 months I venture up to the wonderful state of Connecticut and shoot a whole bunch of Larry talks in a couple hours. And it's always my tremendous pleasure to join Mr. Larkin and Mr. Silman. And I understand we're going to have a special guest, Riley Sorrell. So how nice will that be this week?
Yeah, that'll be we'll be able to celebrate Hanukkah because it'll be the second night.
Yeah, we like that. Mike will fill you in on the details. Jewish people have it right. We give gifts on 8 different nights. We keep those retail stores rocking and rolling.
I always love my Jewish friends. I always, Mom, I'm going to visit Rob Bloomstone tonight.
You wanted the Hanukkah gelt.
Yes, indeed.
The gelt. I'm trying to find a place where they have gelt, and I was gonna buy some gelt for dessert.
There we go.
So there
and
we
it
go.
looks like David is popping in.
David's
Excellent.
there. Yeah.
David, how are you,
guys.
sir? We let everybody know you're on the way.
I appreciate
for
it.
anybody that doesn't know, David Rozak is an interesting guy. His grasp of AI and his grasp of just about everything in our business is so evident when you speak to him, yet he manages to never talk too long. He never talks down to anybody. He's just one of these guys that, man, wherever he is, he's making people better. He's doing some work with me, which I'm eternally grateful for. So without further ado, David, for the few people out there that don't know who you are, let them know who you are, what you're doing, what you've done. And it's a pleasure to see you, my friend.
Well, hello, Mike, Gary, and Larry, and everybody else that's watching. I'm just helping car dealers right now. I've been around the car business for decades.
Wait a minute, David. Why would you need to help car dealers? Because from what I understand, every one of their cultures are perfect and all their processes are rock solid. They wouldn't be fibbing to me, would they, David?
I would say that might be fibbing. But you know what? The thing about it is, most people think their culture isn't broken until you kind of show them where things are broken and maybe what they're doing. The other day, I kind of said to somebody, I said, you're kind of leading from fear and a little bit of fog. And he kind of went into it. And I said, well, here, let's look it up. And we started watching the video together about leading from fear and obligation and guilt. And people like Jeannie and other people that we're in rooms with in Clubhouse, they're probably more experts on this topic than I am. But I kind of explained it to him. I said, maybe you should ask them how you can serve them better and how you can help them and try to empower them and just coach them. Stop trying to be, the policeman for everything. And maybe
for anybody that doesn't know what my friend is talking about, we're 13 days away from the birth of Jesus, who invented servant management. He washed the feet of the disciples. Imagine if managers nurtured salespeople, they would nurture customers.
It's the same thing. When you're a sales manager, your salespeople are your customers. In my mind, they're your first customer. Technically, I always say I'm my first customer. I have to look myself in the mirror, right? I have to make that person better in order to make everybody else better, on my teams. So, I look at my salespeople as my first customer, and then also everybody inside the dealership really becomes my customer, because I think that, and I talk about brand theater. I just view a dealership as one big stage, and that when we're able to earn the right to get a customer to do business with us, they're our guest stars, and so is our community around us. So our community, who we should always be supportive of our community, especially at, any time of the year, really. But, Christmas is always a bigger focus, right? Everybody kind of gets hypersensitive because it's Christmas, it's Thanksgiving. And we have these emotional ties, and we kind of remember things with friends and family, especially friends and family we lost. I know a couple of days ago, we kind of talked bad about some friends and family, which I was like, I don't know if I can talk about this because, I don't know that I had anything good to really say about anybody. So maybe I better not show it. But, I think that our community is so important.
David, Larry's going to blame me, but it was his idea.
It is. It's always Larry's idea. I mean, Gary's kind of like the truth in the room. He'll just tell it like it is. Michael at the other stand, I mean, he does a little bit of everything. Mike, you're a chameleon and a jack of all trades. So you're pretty amazing.
This is a beautiful thing. I'm often the one accused of being a reptile. So this is very nice that I'm in a program where we've acknowledged someone else might be reptilian.
Well, I don't know that you're a reptile. I wouldn't call you a reptile at all. In fact, I would call you an innovator. I think you innovate and you bring out truths that people don't necessarily always see. We like to tell ourselves lies in the mirror. We like to say how great we are at selling cars. But the truth of the matter is 70% of those people would have came anyway. They would have came without your advertising. They would have came with, as long as you had the cars and you're a halfway decent dealership and you're close, you're convenient. Out of convenience, most people come to you simply because you're convenient, not because they like you. They learn to like you. You have to earn and create that like, and you have to give them a good experience, give them a reason to want to buy. But I mean, how many people buy from somebody and they go, man, the salesman really sucked. That manager sucked. That whole experience sucked. But I got that blue car. That's all they wanted. All right. They got what they wanted out of it. And that's why I think a lot of younger people would rather transact online, would rather just talk on the phone with us, would rather have a Zoom call and just deliver it to my house because I don't want to go through all the bullshit in the games. But you know what? The funniest thing is we were told that customers don't want to spend a lot of time at a dealership. Customers don't want to build a relationship with us anymore. And that's not true. I hope you guys can't hear the vacuuming going on upstairs of my wife, who I sent her a text. Hey, I'm in a podcast. But I think that
she could be using a chainsaw, David.
True. I think that the whole thing of time equals commitment and, talking and leading with empathy and gratitude is a forgotten art. But I think that it all ties in now with AI because AI does all these amazing things with citations, understanding our reputation, our reviews. It's listening to our social media. It's listening to our video. It wants to know who Gary is. It wants to know who Michael is. It wants to know who Larry is. It wants to know our story so it could tell it for us. The problem is if we don't feed it enough truthful data, it'll go out there and say, I don't know shit about Larry, or I know everything about Larry. And we found out that in the 4th grade, he stole money and his dad gave him coal for Christmas. It doesn't matter the erroneous story. It can say, Gary in his former life was a nun. Now, we don't believe that. Gary
but it might be worth, David, but it might be worth exploring. It's the first team I've seen Martin really look interested.
We had to get some humor in here, and I had to get a rise out of you guys somewhere. I mean, Michael, he's an old soul. For some reason I picture Michael playing in that Bilbo Baggins movie or something at times, but I'm just going to leave that alone.
By the way, can I throw
no habits over here. No bad.
Can I throw one serious aside in here? Because besides the three of you being my friends, I respect the three of you, and you'll understand this. You said something about dealers not being honest with themselves. The problem with lying to yourself is there's nobody to correct you. That's why it's important. Man, I hate to throw Shakespeare quote in on a Friday, but this above all, to thine own self be true.
True. I mean, I have to look myself in the mirror, and so many times I've had to pivot and change and change my way of dealing with people. And, probably one of the most weirdest moments was that I left the car business and I decided to coach my son in football because the previous year, even though I sat on the board and I kind of helped him with safety, he had a concussion. And I was worried about his safety. I said, hey, I want him to be able to know how to tackle with his neck up. Okay, he needs to have his head up when he's making these tackles. He needs to have his hands out. He needs to wrap people. He needs to drive through with his legs. Don't try to arm tackle and do all these crazy things. Well, he was in 3rd grade then, right? when he hit 4th grade, he's playing on a team with 7th and 8th graders though. And I'm like, I have to coach this kid, right? So I'm coaching him, and there's a lady that brings her son into me, and she talks to me, and her son comes on the team, and I'm coaching him, and and we're running through practice, and lo and behold, this guy gets out of his Land Rover, and I'm like, oh my God, who is that? And I'm like, and then I looked again and said, I know that bald head. He's a Bears player. He's a linebacker. He comes walking over to me and he says, hey, Coach Rozak. And I said, yeah. He goes, your practices are tougher than our professional football practices are at the Bears. So this is Brian Urlacher. He goes, you're having triples. He goes, we don't have triple practices and we're pros. he goes, you might want to rethink it a little bit here. And he kind of made me rethink that, hey, you know what? I've been a little too hard on these kids. I am. But the funny thing about it is the kids, they were enjoying it and having fun, and they never complained once to me. Now, maybe behind my back they were. But it was very interesting to have a couple of professional football players to show up at the games and refer to you as coach. And it was a great ego trip. I got to tell you, my ego is super big.
Urlacher, he's probably a really cool guy too. He was probably, he seems like, just from knowing the kind of guy he is, he was probably really cool.
He was very cool. And, the same year I was doing marketing with sideline marketing and restaurant marketing, and the Bears players, they're one of PR agent Wayne Jett. He used to be mayor of McHenry, Illinois, and owns Wayne Jett Heating and Air. Wayne introduced me to a bunch of the Bears players. And I remember that Devin Hester would call me and say, hey, Dave, can you get me reservations in Rosebud Steakhouse downtown? I'll make sure. And a lot of times we wouldn't charge the football players. We would just get them in the restaurant, have them shake hands with customers, take pictures. But they were joy moments back then, I called it. I said, guys, we got to create these joy moments with customers, with the employees. And it was really more for that busboy and that server that says, hey, I just hugged Lance Briggs. Hey, Brian Urlacher was here. Now, those guys had their own restaurants, so they really weren't coming as much. But back in the day, we had all these other players and receivers coming in. We had their quarterback coming in, and we're just like, oh, man, it's great having these Bears players just show up and take pictures with customers all the time. And, I comped their whole meals. I just didn't pay for their alcohol or their tip. But you'd be surprised the tips these guys would lay down and how generous they were for their servers and people. Most people call them jerks a lot of times, but not the Bears players. And I even had Sox players, and probably the best time I had was the Blackhawks players going to some of their karaoke nights back in the day.
You can only
David,
imagine.
If it bolsters you at all, my all-time favorite non-Philadelphia athlete, other than Jerry West, is Walter Payton. Here was a guy that wasn't too much taller than me, that never ran out of bounds. And if you throw out Tom Brady and that lucky 6th-round pick, you could argue the greatest single draft day in history was when the Bears, they got Butkus and they got Gale Sayers in the same draft pick. Oh, yeah. Arguably the best linebacker and the best running back in the game.
Yeah, just an amazing pick. The Bears have had some really, really good luck with picks, and so have a lot of NFL teams. It just comes on development and communication and coaching, because just like in professional football in the dealership, you'll see a retread go into a dealership or a retread go to a sports team. And maybe he wasn't all that at the last team, but all of a sudden he gets to a new team and a new environment with a new coach, and he's a superstar.
Wait a minute, Larkin. You better jump in right now because you're our facts guy. The guy he's talking about is Johnny Unitas, who was cut from the Steelers, who were the worst team in the league, and became arguably the greatest quarterback all time. You could argue Montana if you want, or Mahomes or Brady, but the guy was amazing.
I'm still sour on the Super Bowl shuffle. Do they have that in karaoke?
No. The only guys I did karaoke with was the Blackhawks. And they were big about that. They would go to restaurants. I remember we took them to a place called Pazos one night, and they all went there after a game. And I would get called from the PR agent. He'd say, hey, Dave, can you come and take some pictures? And I'm like, sure. So I'd go there, and all the Blackhawks players are there playing. And they're just great guys to be around with, and gals. The funny thing is that many times I had gone that year to see those guys out and hang out around them. And they're always polite, they're just regular people when you get to know them. But there was this young lady who was hanging out there the whole time, and I had no idea who she was, just always sitting there. And at that time, it was Taylor Swift, and I had no idea that she was sitting there hanging out with us at the place. But you think about it, she was a young woman then, still a young woman, but I just very nice, polite person. Never really. I mean, here's the weird thing: she never got up there and sang.
Yeah, did she do karaoke?
Yeah, I think because she did that as a profession, she didn't need to go up there and sing. But that was a big thing for a little bit of the guys would all go out and do a little karaoke.
David, I have to inform you, we do have a parental warning on the show. Your comments were so interesting, Gary Silman has spontaneously combusted. We'll dig somebody up for next week, Mike.
Well, he's a Swiftie. That's it. That's it. Deep down.
That's it.
We know he's a Swiftie, and that's okay. But realistically, these professional players, they rallied around me and they helped me actually get new recruits to play football for us one year in Westmont. And it was just a wonderful scene that we had a couple of the players come there and sign autographs, take pictures with everybody. And they just did out of their kindness of their heart to help, promote a team. And, of course, a stake here and there probably didn't, stop them from coming either. But realistically, they were just good people. But, like I said, you'll have a professional player that on one team, he's just so. And you get to another team, he's good. And it's the same thing with our people. You may see it with a change of a manager. I see that a lot of times. Sometimes a good manager can bring the best out of a sales team, and not just the sales team, but uplift the whole dealership around them, and make a cancerous society into a very positive society and culture. I've seen that so many times happen where, you have this wonderful dealership and it's doing well. And next thing you know, you change the head, you change the general manager, and all of a sudden they're moving. Now, anybody can give away a car. So, I think that there's a lot of those guys out there. They can push a lot of money in the trade. They can give away cars, but it's being able to sustain that and keep people and people wanting to go to work there. It's like when you get that employee that says, hey man, I got a buddy who really wants to come to work here. He's at such and such place. And you start hearing that over and over again. You got something special with your teams when people want to work there. And, ironically, that was the culture I was at with Motorworks. Motorworks, when I was the marketing director there, they had a wonderful culture where people wanted to come to work there and be part of that team. And I'm not saying they're still not like that because I'm not there, but they did sell to Mergado, which are good people too. I'm just saying that when I went to work for them, that was one of the reasons why I went to Motorworks. Well, two reasons. COVID happened. The dealerships all closed. The next day they called me and said, hey, guide our ship through COVID. And I said, that's easy. We're going to be good concierge. We're going to do pickup and delivery. And we're actually just going to have phone conversations and Zoom calls with customers and send links. I said, how about we share the iPacket with people, the Carfax? How about we tell stories with our cars and we brand our people? And you know what? I'll be damned if people that you never thought would do video, and I'm talking 56-year-old guys that who didn't want to even text, they all of a sudden became the technology wizards to sell 30 and 40 cars a month. So I think when people have to, and they're motivated the right way, they do things for us. And Larry, you're one of those motivators.
Well, my thing is, it's so funny because I'm coming off of 2 days in Palm Beach, and I hit what I always hit people with, and it's going to sound a little silly, but it's true. I only invite nice people to come in to interview for sales positions. And then I send them all out, David, to a mystery shop to say they're looking for a car for their sister that just had a baby. And after they get blown off and disrespected and told, tell your sister to come in and I can't run, I can't do anything till she's here, I make them understand that you're really nice people. Not everybody in our business is nice. If you think you're that nice, they deserve to have you as their salesperson. Therefore, you deserve to have them as your customer.
Right.
And when you combine that with the fact that I never understood the concept of sitting somewhere for 8 hours and complaining all day. It's so much more fun to be busy and look at your watch and go, man, I can't believe it's time to go home. The day flew by.
I just need to have a constant activity in my life. People are like, David, do you sleep? And I'm like, I do. But, I always have to be creative. I always have to be empowering. Don't get me wrong. I used to have my days when I'd go and zone out and play like a video game for a day or two and just not want to talk to the world, or I'd go fishing or go hunting or whatever. But realistically, though, I just always like to just keep creating and keep looking at things and keep finding rabbit holes and solutions and vetting stuff out because, at one time or another, one of my friends or myself or the people that I work with are going to say, hey, we want to try that product. Do you know how Goo works? Do you know how CarNow works? Do you understand Google Analytics 4? And what can you show me here? Do you understand generative SEO? Do you understand how SEO works? And I'm like, okay, I understand the basics, but I'm not an expert. But I have to be dangerous enough to be able to hold a conversation with everybody in the room.
Can I want to jump in. Larry and like David, I've been reading up on you, and I'm going to talk about a few things that I read and I watched, and I really want to learn a little bit more about it. But between listening to you and Larry and you know the last few years of what everybody's been going through with everything, is the common thread is you just need to learn how to have a normal conversation. And it's, you know, it shouldn't have to be where everybody's posturing. So it's really interesting because, you know, I've been in the auto industry my whole life, but in the last few years, I started working in the ag industry and started to go visit the dealers because, you know, the products are, you know, it's a service contract. It's very similar. When you go into the ag, the people want to meet you. They come out of their office and they'll shake your hand and they'll look you in the eye and they'll listen to you. And if they don't see it's a value, they'll tell you it's not a value. And it's like, it's so refreshing to have normal conversations. And then eventually you go over your product and services. And now, you know, the winter is busy now. So now I'm communicating with people who I haven't spoke with in 6 months because I was nice. I went out there, I shook their hand, I got their email, and I sent them an email. So with what Larry is bringing and why Larry is successful is because he brings the communication and the radar back on the floor, and that we are salespeople and that we are selling automobiles, whether it's a big one, a little one, a red one, a green one, is they still want somebody to help them. Now, if it's on a Zoom call, on a video and following them back up based on the generation, okay, do it. But it's the excitement back on the floor. And then I don't want to lose my train of thought with all of this. David, you wrote the article on brand theater, and you made a nice video, and you made it so it was 5 steps, or it each had its own quadrant. And you know, for the last 5 years, Mike has brought me into this world. You know, I was always a belly to belly in the stores, working the stores. But when you listen to all the winners, it's giving the dealers tools now to have them get better. And what you wrote in that theater was such a natural, easy, because we used to laugh, because back in the day when you were in a car dealership, you said, we got to make a movie about this. People they couldn't believe the stuff that goes on in the car dealership. But where I see the vision is what you, chaos to clarity. So chaos to clarity is your vision. And then you organize the whole dealership by using social media strategy. And then you incorporate AI to make it so much easier for everybody. So can you, talk about that? Because dealers, they all want to poo-poo everything, but you are cutting through a lot of the poo-poo. And as you put your head down, like you're building, and then you're having people that latch on to you based on what you're building, and then it's executing. So that's what everybody is looking for. They want to know who's using it, is it working? And the dealers are the biggest fence sitters. So if you could take a few minutes to talk about, because I'm emulating and taking stuff from you and saying, yeah, that's exactly how you should do it. Just listen to that David guy. When he talks, because there's not a lot of people that know the languages when you start getting up into digital marketing. And it took Mike 5 years to teach me what a pixel was, and then when you got the egos involved, they don't want to hear it. And so they start saying, they raise their voice, and they don't want, because they don't know. So I know I just went on with a whole bunch.
No.
I love Larry. I love what you're doing. And in the theater, it was this, I posted it. I took it and said, man, the script is right there. And so talk a little bit about your theater, your brand theater.
So I've refined and pivoted brand theater probably over the past 15 years, because like I said, I kind of look at a dealership being on stage.
Yep.
Yep. I was blessed that I had training when I was younger from Zig Ziglar.
Okay.
So I had some Zig training. And Joe Verdi, and, I probably listened to the closing CD of 101 Closes of Grant Cardone a bunch of times.
Okay.
But now, before he ever made that CD, I sat in a roundtable group with a bunch of people making up those closes, and he was in the room. So it was kind of, flattering. Of course, I had to ask myself, why didn't I make that? But, but anybody, and I think Grant shows you the way in a lot of people, that, the opportunities in the car business are limitless.
Yeah.
And I truly believe this. And I've told my son this. I said, a car guy can do anything, because we multitask at so many different things. We could be a policeman. We can be an inventory control person. We can be a priest. There's so many different things that we go through in a matter of 5 minutes at the desk. If you're truly gifted and you can prioritize, and how to, just put everything into place. But the playbook for a dealership is no different. You just have to be playing the whole chess game, right? And not one piece at a time. Right. Getting the right inventory, it's key. But having your brand out there is also key. Merchandising your product and pricing the market with videos and the right content, and having the right SEO and a website that loads properly, that works, and each tool communicates with everything, and a CRM that talks. So now you have this whole structure to get somebody to the deal and to be able to sell a car. Okay. But then we have to make it easy. We have to be transparent. And then the customer goes, how do I find you? Number one. So now we figure out a way to get found. But then we have a process as to, we confirm an appointment and they come in, if we do that. But then we forget about them until they show up 3 days from now. And within those 3 days or 2 days or 6 hours, it doesn't matter. There's a whole bunch of other people that are saying, I want to earn the right to have you come to my store. And then the customer goes, I want to make a mental profile of Michael Larkin. Who is Michael Larkin? Well, when your AI reaches out to them, and your AI, let's say it's Ava, and I go to your website to look up Ava, and there's no picture of Ava, or there isn't even a staff page. And then I kind of looked on LinkedIn and I looked on social, and I'm going, man, I want to meet this person, Ava. Who is this? I just talked to them on the phone. Well, with the right BDC, they can make that handoff, right, to a salesperson or a manager. All right, with the right word track that somebody like Wendy would put together, Wendy Reeves. But I guess what I'm saying is that there's so many pieces that go into a deal, right? And we spend all this money and throwing money at, but we forget about our reputation. We forget about our brand. We forget about the generative SEO and SEO that has to do the blocking and tackling to get people to just find you, to go, hey, here's the answer. And then the customer has to make a choice. And then they have to make the choice, and then they have to do what they say they're going to do. So we still have to stay top of mind and send them a video on, hey, I'm getting the car ready for you. Hey, here's the iPacket. Hey, this is what you need when you come in. Make sure you have both sets of keys. And if you're trading in your car, bring your title. Make sure you got your insurance. It's just touching base with them along the way and just giving, and I almost dropped the F-bomb, just caring. But, so you prepare them mentally and you prepare this stage. It's nothing that we haven't been taught forever in the car business. Marrying the customer, doing good by people, being genuine.
Yep.
Why we're having to reteach this, I don't know. But the problem with everything right now is that we have AI eyes that are upon us, right? And they can say, is this a bad manager merchandising? Do the metrics suck? Does their website not fit generative SEO? I'm looking to find citations about you to prove that Gary is a good guy, and that's why you need to do business with him. So now we have social media, who most old GMs, I remember when I first started doing social media at the store, everybody look at me, Dave's just playing. Social doesn't sell cars. Who cares?
Right. Dealer rater. If they came in and brought me cookies, maybe we'd do it for a month.
Yeah, and it's okay. Here, I wasn't a fan of Dealer Rater because first thing I said to the Dealer Rater rep when he walked in, and I said, nobody goes to Dealer Rater to buy a car. When somebody first brought me social media, I looked at them and said, guys, people sell cars, not the internet. I was the first person to say the internet doesn't sell cars. People do. I was also the same guy to go, man, I don't do this texting shit. If you need me, call me. And people look at me and go, oh, you're nuts. And then people would say, oh, you hate email. And, and later, all these things I had to pivot and change. I had to adapt. The car business has always had to adapt. But one of the good things about a car guy is that good leaders, good coaching can adapt. Now, in today's market, visibility really is leadership for our managers and our people, because people want to buy from a leader. People want to buy from someone like them. People want to buy for someone that says, I care about you, and here's what I have to offer you. So when people know you care about them, you have what they want, you're going to give them a good offer. They're going to say, I can make a memory with them. I can make a relationship with them. And when I need a guy, I got a guy. I got Larry. I got a guy. If I want to know about that, I got a guy. I got Michael. If I want to know about it, I can pick up the phone and call Gary. You just have to make that mental connection. And right now, those conversations, though, are happening with a large language model. It's happening on ChatGPT. It's happening in Grok. It's happening in Perplexity. It's not happening between you and I, the customer, because the customer said, I'm on your website, but I don't even want to talk to you. I want to research you, and I want to know you're a good person. And now I need to get a validation. It used to be you'd ask your neighbor, hey, Gary, I see you got your last Buick from so-and-so. Who'd you get that from? How'd you like dealing with them? Were they good people? And the biggest thing that everybody wants to know, can I fucking trust you?
Exactly.
Hey, David, but keep in mind, as I preach everywhere I go, I just preached for 2 days, prospecting turns everything back in the direction you want it to go.
Absolutely.
Your closing rate goes up, your gross goes up. David, we try to keep this short so more people will view it.
Of course.
We absolutely positively want to have you back on for part 2. You know how much we like you and respect you, and every point you brought up was valid.
Hey, David, I've got before we close.
Okay.
I'll let you finish, Larry.
We can tell Larry to buzz off.
One important point.
Sorry, guys. The dogs are barking. Guys, come here. Come here.
Sorry, Larry. Go ahead.
I can hear you. Go ahead. Well,
I was just going to say, your numbers flashing at the bottom of the screen in your email. I know with me, you're helping me direct to people so I can pull even more dealers into my periphery. If people want to reach you, they see how. What is it that you find yourself enjoying doing the most? Because I know you can do just about everything.
Well, what I enjoy doing my most is not letting my 150-pound puppy over here bark when we're on a Zoom call or a podcast. But no, truthfully, what I enjoy doing the most is probably helping others in reality. Art therapy is one thing, helping people just kind of achieve their goals and kind of simplifying things. I try to keep my circle kind of small though. But that doesn't mean you can't reach out to me and that I won't help you, especially on the AI side. Now, Mike,
David, is that your dog? Is that your dog making all that noise?
No, actually, that's not me. That's coming through the audio.
Oh, I'm sorry. That was me. I apologize.
It's okay.
What is it with you and David with the dogs? Luckily, Mike Larkin has a goldfish. It's nice and quiet when we're on these podcasts.
Gary's still kind of, cutting up pictures of Taylor Swift when I brought her up. He took off.
Not bad, particularly when she was young. Mike, you had a point before we jump off?
I'm going to pull a Larry right now.
That's okay.
The secret of getting ahead is getting started. And that's why my old friend Mark Twain, we have the Mark Twain house right here in Connecticut, in Hartford, by the way. But I've always said up until now this is historic, up until now, that content is king.
It always is.
It isn't anymore.
It isn't?
Well,
why? Tell me why now.
The content that's being thrown at the large language AIs.
Yeah, you've sold me on
making,
this, so you know that content was king.
Making these.
Yeah, now you got to resell me.
Yeah.
Well, I'm getting to it. So
Okay.
it's making these answers sound like Charlie Brown's teacher. Wah, 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 wah. It's generic. It's not specific. And people don't know how to prompt correctly. They say, what's the most reputable car dealership in Hartford, in Chicago, wherever. That's not good enough. Now it's, if you have AI and it's powered and it's creating EI, which is expert intelligence. You have an expert and he's creating the content based on the keywords people are looking up. Then you have CI, content intelligence. And then when people are looking for you, if you're the one that has the most content via what they're looking for, the search engines and the AI searches won't have a choice but to have you as a business or an individual come up in those search results.
There is one caveat to that, though.
Take it. That's why I wanted to.
Right. It also has to be relevant in a 30-day cycle. Just like we're reborn in the car business every 30 days, so is your online reputation, because the needle moves up and down. But you as a dealer can always make a change about yourself online. You can always have a testimonial done. You can always have a video done. I was at a bank yesterday and they had filmed every person there just talking about there. And they had customers talking about the wonderful service. And the biggest thing was trust. So you can literally go to Perplexity and say, what are the 5 biggest questions that a customer asks when they're looking to buy a car? Now, what you do is you put those 5 questions aside. They become what's called a note card. A note card fills the knowledge graph. So those are questions that Gemini and other things are asking about you. So all you have to do is, if you have the 5 reasons, then you have to do a presentation or a prompt or a video or a review that talks about those same topics. And, you know, the other day I did 20 of them, and I went to a dealership and I did their Q&A and I asked those 20 questions. Only 50% of them came up with an answer. So I said, well, there's your SEO to work on. And they said, what do you mean? And I said, well, if it doesn't know that you fix transmissions, you need to tell people on your website that you fix transmissions. Now, of course, I dropped the F-bomb when I said this because it was very frustrating to me. But if you say, hey, I'm a first-time buyer, can I get financed? You need to build a page that addresses that. Do you have vehicles that'll fit my family? Then you need to pose questions and answers, you know, in an FAQ page that says, we have SUVs that are perfect for families and people with child seats. If not, we offer minivans. We have plenty of family options for you, but we just need to do a video, a social post, have a review about it, have a FAQ about it. You know, the more content, the better, but you got 30 days to be reborn every time. When that negative review hurts you, you got to, you know, get rid of it. You got to push it down. They always
David,
say,
let's close with another
close.
Mark Twain quote.
All right.
Every statement does not reflect missed opportunities or the service people that aren't coming back. Twain also said, one of my favorites, there's lies, damn lies, and then there's statistics.
Those all sound like the same thing, Larry.
David, we're going to have you back very soon.
Oh, love you guys.
Myself, Mike, Gary, you have no idea how much we appreciate you and how much we thank you for being on. Mike, I think we still have a podcast next week, right?
Absolutely. We've got Tom Galbraith on.
And I'll be talking to you all the time, David, but ahead of time,
gentlemen.
Healthy holidays to you, your family, your son, your dog.
You guys as well. Thank you. I'm going to go help him sell a car now.
Thank awesome. You. Hey, have a great weekend.
You too, guys.
Good seeing everybody.
Take care.